Hey, it is Friday, May 9th, 2025, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here on the West Coast. I am Brannon Beliso. This is Success Never Sleeps, where we as a collective of small business owners, in particular, martial arts school owners, try to figure out this thing called life. Right? We want to create businesses that are not only profitable, but provide us with a lifestyle that we believe is our version of success: freedom of time, retirement, college, paying off our homes, right? And living in a way that we believe we deserve. We're willing to do the work, but it's often the right strategies, the right systems, the right processes, right? The work that needs to be done to help us achieve that. And I think on a weekly basis, that is really our goal. So let's begin by thanking our sponsors, who I love dearly. I just got off the phone with Gunny at Tucson. It's amazing when you can call the CEO of a company, and be able to ask him, something as basic as that. So our sponsors are Tucson, Market Muscles, My Studio, Kids Love Life Skills, LC Accounting, and Kin Creative. All people I work with, all people I love. I can't say enough about them, but I do want to point out with Kids Love Life Skills, we're now a subscription-based model. So for $99 a month, you have access to, I would say, hundreds of thousands of dollars of written support materials that you can utilize to help position your school as the go-to in life skills education. And if you can do that with a parent, you're no longer just an extracurricular activity. You are an investment. So take a look at that and go to kidslovelifeskills.com. As you're coming aboard, say hello. Tell me where you're tuning in from. We have Mr. Bob Poole, Goals Martial Arts. What's happening, Bob? And my good friend James Walker from Resilient Martial Arts, serving 500 snow cones for field day. Oh, there's a helicopter going over. I decided to open up this window on a spring day so I get a little air, but once in a while that will happen. Elementary school, wow, good for you. 500 snow cones. That's super. And that type of community service, James, I'm going to continue to applaud you and everybody on. People ask all the time, what's my ROI? What's my ROI? What's my ROI? I mean, I can't put a value on being present in the community where people are seeing your brand, you're creating brand awareness, and you're just genuinely there to give back. I know you better have a QR code on a sign where they can scan for a summer special, things of that nature. But my purpose there is to impact the community in ways beyond what I simply can do with martial arts. Cool? Cool. So what do we got coming up? You need to be here. It's Time Live Freedom, November 8th through 11th, right here in Millbrae, California, 5 minutes from SFO, 4 days. It's a pilgrimage, somebody said to me. It's a retreat. They come from Germany. They come from Switzerland, Canada, as far as Australia and throughout the USA. Why? Because they understand that we can help them cultivate the skill set they need. They need to be successful in business and life. And, me and Marco had that discussion in our It's Time group mentoring. When we introduce a topic to you, it doesn't mean it's done in a month, right? Everything you get out of that 4-day experience of It's Time, it's just the tip of the iceberg. You have to continue to nurture. You don't just come and write one system. You have to go back and write a lot of systems, and you review the systems, always tweaking, making things better. Same thing with staff development. Same thing with what we'll discuss today, which is retention. All these things must be done consistently on an ongoing basis, right? It's just the way it goes. So look for the link right there. Sign up for 1 day, 2 days, or 4 days. But I encourage you spend 4 days with me and the team. It'll change your life. It will simply change your life. Good? Yep, a QR code on the tablecloth is fine. Absolutely, sir. And postcard with it as well. Yeah. Yeah, the coloring sheets, I think, are powerful, right? If you got a QR code on that as well. We had that discussion because the Karate Kid's coming up, Legends, right? And how we can leverage that. I said the big thing is you want to keep them in your booth. The longer you can keep them in your booth, the more you can have this conversation with the parent as human beings and, start to plant some seeds, right? I think it's a heck of a lot better than standing in the aisle, blocking people's pathway with a clipboard going, hey, ever think about signing up for martial arts, right? Doesn't work. So if I can get them in there, if I can give them a snow cone, if I can have a bubble machine going, if I can have kids music playing, maybe a balloon twister, a face painter, whatever, the longer I keep them in my booth, the better. And it needs to be kid-centric, right? Those balloons start flying. All those bubbles start flying. Every kid comes into that booth and wants those bubbles. What else do we have happening now? It's time group mentoring, which was born out of wisdom. I found it was a very cumbersome project for me as an individual, and the price I would charge today for something like that would be double of what I charged during that time. And I want to access my main demographic, which is the small school owner. You can't afford to have me one-on-one as a mentor. I get that. So I put together a team where at a reasonable price, we can still give you the same value, just about when we did wisdom, when I was all alone, but for a much, much better fee to us. I would explore that. This month we're working on your website, your Google business page, your Facebook, as well as your Instagram based upon the storytelling of last month and your why and all these neat moving parts. And I want to say with all confidence that every small martial arts school owner should be with us. We are not consultants, we are mentors. Consultants come in there and they fix one problem. Mentors are there for the long haul with you. They're about the relationship and everything that comes with it. So for me, I think it's unequaled. And it's something everybody should be looking at. And Mark will put the link for that as well. As you're coming aboard, say hello. Tell me who you are, where you're tuning in from. I would appreciate that very, very much, so I can give you a shout out. So what are we discussing today? Retention. I think the word retention in our industry, like many industries, can be taken at face value. Often it's very skewed, right? If you think of retention, right, we're trying to retain, keep, possess, have. Well, you can't do that with people. That's why in our industry, like many industries, they say, and it varies, but it's pretty much around every 2 years we replace 50% of our student body. That means you're losing 50 students every 2 years. So let's say I have 100 students right now, right? Year one, I'll easily lose 25, right? Easily. Year two, lose another 25, right? Easily. I mean, think about it. That's not far-fetched. That's 50 students in 2 years. The big thing is you have to replace them, right? And that is why the most common question I get in our industry from school owners is, how do I get 10 new students? I would say the better question will always be for me, how do I retain the 10 students that I currently have? Because if I work on that component of retention, then I believe the trials that do come through my door, I will convert better and they will stay longer. The great saying, I don't know if it's a great saying, but it is a saying. If you want to put a bad restaurant out of business, give them great marketing. Right? If your food is terrible, your wait staff is rude, somebody comes in because you have this great ad, they'll only come once and never come again, right? And they're going to write a bad review on you because they were all excited to come through the door based upon your stellar marketing and you didn't deliver on your brand promise. Okay? So let's do reverse engineering. So put it in the comments and I'll keep on talking because it moves really slow in the comments. Think about it right now. What are 3 things you can currently do to retain your existing students, right? I like that too. I mean, you hear Virginia, what she's saying there, right? What if instead of worrying about retention, we shifted our focus to inspiration and empowerment? Yeah. And I think that's what I'm alluding to. I can't retain people. I can't possess them. I can't keep them. So I think it's a fear-based thinking, right? And a lot of people would say, well, the key to retention is to lock them into a contract. And if they try to get out of the contract, you sue them. Okay. Right. That's an example for me of fear-based retention. What I'm really challenging us on when I say retention, right, is I don't want to retain people. I do want to inspire and empower them, Virginia. So I think it's very true in saying that. I think logistically, from a vision viewpoint, right, as the architect of my business, How do I write that systematically into a system that I can train instructors on, staff members on, to help us inspire and empower people, which equals to them staying or retention, right? Or retention. I hear that. Conrad's saying, great customer service. All right, Conrad from Respect Martial Arts. I hear you, sir. So tell me what that means for you. What would be an example of great customer service? Well, I'm going to borrow from a couple of different industries, right? Let's think of Apple. I'll think of Disney. Um, I believe I've seen it in a Nike store. There's a greeter. You walk through the door and somebody greets you. Apple will say hello, direct traffic, send you to the iPhone, iPad, MacBook Pro sections. Disney has greeters, right? I think that's an earmark. Now, because we do not have program directors or front desk people every day at a location, systematically, we train the whole team on it. So everybody in our school says hello. Now, the reason I think that was really cool when I walked into a Japanese restaurant was the hostess may not always be at the hostess station. She might be backing up the waiter and serving water or running around or doing other things. So she can trust if there's something of value like that, backing up a server to improve our customer service and get the food on the table quicker. She knows with all confidence that everybody will greet somebody coming through the door. And that's pretty much what happened with us. When we got rid of our program director, we got rid of our front desk. I needed to ensure that that component of great customer service, greeting people at the front door, was still met. So if I'm in the middle of teaching a class, we will always say, "Hi, welcome to One Martial Arts." Kick, punch, right? We'll always greet people. And then because we make sure the Ritz-Carlton rule, that front desk is within 5 feet of the front door. 5 feet in San Francisco easily. Millbrae's about 6 feet. There's some type of placard there with your name on it, welcoming you to One Martial Arts if you're a trial, right? It's obvious. There's a handout sitting there with a t-shirt with a name tag on it. That's yours. So if you walk in and nobody other than hello was able to come up into your space and talk to you about welcome to your trial, et cetera, there's at least something for you to feel that moment, that magic moment, right? Because it's all about memorable experiences. And if I walk into a new business, everybody says hello, and I see directly in front of my face an acrylic sign with my name on it printed, and I see a t-shirt with my name on it with a name tag, I'm going to feel, wow, welcomed. And that again is how we not compensated, but how we created a new system once we got rid of program directors, once we got rid of our front desk people on a full-time basis. You with me? So I want to look at that. When we say great customer service, could that mean a bathroom being cleaned between every class? Absolutely. Could that mean a baby changing table for a mom, right? Who it's not great service if I have to change the sibling on the floor of that bathroom, right? Or occupy one of your dressing rooms and try to change them in the stroller. So even something as basic as a baby changing table is great customer service, right? Knowing people by name is great customer service. That type of retention, people don't really grasp all the time because they go, what's my ROI? Right? If you do contracts and they're up for renewal and you're able to use a great sales script and get them to convert, and sign again for another year, you consider that to be great retention. I don't at all. It's just simply sales and closing a deal, in my eyes. So when we talk about great customer service in relationship to retention, I want to go into detail, Conrad. So give me some examples of what you define as great customer service. Cool? Cool. And put your comments in there. What are 3 things you think right now you can do to improve the retention in your school? Well, the obvious are the obvious ones, whether it's Roland Osborne, Dave Kovar, Melody Johnson, myself, anybody that you speak to in our industry, they will tell you, number one, teach amazing classes. Teach amazing classes. Okay, well, that's kind of like great customer service. What does that mean? Because unfortunately, we are all famous in our own minds. There's not a single martial arts school owner I talk to that will tell you they teach crappy classes. Right? Not a one. Not a one is willing to say that. Because they're unchecked. There's nobody critiquing the head instructor of a school on his methodology or what he's teaching. But numbers don't lie, right? Numbers don't lie. And so for me, that's really important. Hey, we have somebody new here. All Island Martial Arts. I love it. Are you from Hawaii? Are you in Hawaii? All Island. I love it. All Island Martial Arts. Welcome. Please tell me your name. I'd love to know where you're tuning in from as well. Yeah, keep your promises. That's a great one, you know? That's a great one. There's a great book called The Four Agreements by, I believe it's Juan Luis Ruiz. I always get his name wrong. Do I have that book right here? No, I don't. And he says one of the things, be impeccable with your word. So that's what you're fundamentally saying. Keep your promise. And I've watched so many people in our industry break their promises and say it's business, right? They will compromise a core value like keeping your promise, right? That's a great brand absolute, All Island Martial Arts. And I would say that keep your promise. And if you promise somebody this, like it happened the other day, okay? Some kid outside of our school fell into paint. Somebody had painted some, I don't know if it was the maintenance people or what. So he's got paint all over his uniform. Mom asked us fundamentally to give this kid a free uniform and they'll be more careful next time. Now, my team made that call to give this kid a free uniform after he's already been given a uniform when he signed up. And at first I balked at it and I said, that's not cost effective. Then I had to backpedal. My team made a promise. They were going to give this kid a uniform. And if they went back to this mom and said, well, I spoke to the owner, we can't give you a free uniform, you have to pay for it because that's not our fault. There's construction going on out there. They painted. Your son needed to be more careful. That is not a good conversation. So what? It cost me a $15 silkscreen uniform, right, to retain the student. But see, that's the type of empowerment. Oh, Michael Hutchins. Oh, I didn't know your school was named that. Huh. Wow, that's super awesome, sir. Grateful that you're here today. I've seen your name many times at social media, sir. And so you're right. Michael, we have to keep our promise because, again, I don't want to undermine my team. I've empowered them to do things like keep their promise. And they promised to give this kid a uniform. I will leave it at that. I didn't even double back at the team and say, don't do that again. I think it's smart. It's a new student. It'll help retain them. They just earned their yellow belt. They're rocking. They earned a yellow belt. They're feeling good. And all it's going to cost me is a free uniform, right? Because this kid made a mistake and got paint all over his, no problem. But would we do that again? Definitely not, right? If he messes up his uniform again, it's on you, right? It's on you, right? There's not too many stores you can go into after ruining something and say, can you replace this, please? I ruined it. You can't. So it's a universal practice. You'll hear it across the board, right? Even in freaking Scarface. Remember what he said? All I got is my balls and my word, and I don't break either of them, right? Remember that? So it's a very universal. And the thing I think more than that, Michael, what I love about it, it's human, right? When we talk about, humanism, and I'm a huge student of humanism. I study all forms of humanism because I'm really amazed, how humans behave on the good end and on the really extreme bad end too, right? I'm very amazed by that. And I recognize that what we want to do is get people to believe in us. And if you get another human to believe in you, one, they'll be loyal to you. Two, they'll spend a lot of money in your business, right? And through the challenges, the good times and the bad, we see it through the pandemic. I was amazed. Yes, we lost 250 students, but 750 went online with us. That's amazing. That's amazing. But because we had built those relationships where the relationship even became at many times more valuable than the actual martial arts instruction we were giving them. So again, I think the strength of a relationship is people that keep their words. Sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Conrad's saying clear and consistent communication with clients. Yeah. Let's start with that one. I love it. I love it. I love it, Conrad. Clear and concise communication. We just had that discussion on our It's Time group mentoring. Something as basic as the website at your, the hours of school operation at your website have to be the same at your Google business page, have to be the same at your Nextdoor, Yelp, Facebook, Instagram, because it's not consistent communication. Here at your website, that class says it's Saturday at 10 a.m. Over here, right, at Google business page, it says there is no class Saturday at 10 a.m. Over here at Yelp, it said it was youth karate at your website. Over here, it says fitness kickboxing. Those things, if you're not communicating them consistently, number one, consistent, and then clearly, this is the time the class starts and ends. Things of that nature are really detrimental to your business. Why? Because it creates distrust, right? And a big key to retention for us and our schools is trust. We need, not want, we need to earn your trust, because if you trust us, the potential of retention is increased dramatically. Wouldn't you agree? Okay, so I like that. Clear and concise communication. And that's just a matter if you want to do a quick audit, go to your website, go to your Google business page, go to your Facebook and your Instagram. Fundamentally, I don't know if you use TikTok or anything else, and check all the information. Check it. I even found I was using an older version of our logo, right, for the profile picture on our business page, but on the friends and family page for that location, we have the new logo. That's not good. People say, "Oh, what's the big deal?" It is a big deal. It's a very big deal because I want to be clear and concise. And if we've updated our logo on our uniforms, on our signage, on everything, we've got to do it across the board. And that's what gives clarity, Conrad. Even though, yeah, well, the logo's there consistently everywhere. Yeah, but one here it's blue, and over here it's white, and over here it's the logo from 30 years ago, and over here, no, it's not. So again, clear and consistent. I like that. I like that. A comprehensive curriculum with videos to support learning. That's a big one, Conrad. We visit our curriculum pretty regularly every 7 years because the videos were costing us so much money. Now I have a really good camera, really good lights. So our curriculum is fluid. We will revamp the curriculum, teach it for 2 weeks in class. The guys will come back and say it sucks. It freaking sucks. The counting isn't right. Nobody's comprehending it. This is the way it should be done. I will go back and be able to shoot that one video and replace it, in our app and at YouTube. That is freaking cool. So I found it was hindering that type of growth in our curriculum, more comprehensive, right? I want to keep it simple, but it wants to be comprehensive. I agree with you on that. So that is, when we talk about teaching amazing classes, it begins with an amazing product. If you don't have great curriculum, and what I've learned about that, because everyone says, well, you got to be self-defense and BJJ and da 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 da. Still, some of the biggest schools, the biggest number of franchises in our industry is Taekwondo. Taekwondo is in the Olympics, and they stay pretty true to form, right? Their WTF or whatever the other one is, they're pretty true. They keep refining what they do, but they still do pumses. They still do, Olympic style sparring. And that I commend. That I commend a lot. So what I'm sharing about that is they believe. They believe. And that's the key thing. You need to believe in the curriculum that you're teaching. And if you believe in it, it doesn't matter if it's Kung Fu, Judo, BJJ, Karate, Hapkido. It does not matter because you're delivering a product you believe in, right? Think about that. You're delivering a product you believe in. Because again, if we get people to believe, they'll be loyal to your brand, you'll retain them, and they'll spend more money. And it begins with your belief system. If you don't believe in what you're teaching, then you should go back to the drawing board and rework it, right? That's why I really lean in and listen to my team, because I teach the majority of the classes. And if they tell me it's not working, I'm not married to anything at this point. I'll happily go in and make adjustments and do the different things that is needed to better that curriculum. So yeah, when you talk about that, Conrad, I think what helps cultivate that, again, if you don't have good curriculum learning videos, and I say curriculum videos because it's already been taught in class, and so I want to give them a video that's going to supplement and support what they learned, right? Maybe they're not rechambering a block properly the majority of the class. I'll hyper focus on that in the instructional video. But make no mistake, even that's a huge miss. Someone says, I have instructional videos. Then I look at them and you're in a big echoey room with no microphone pinned to you and you're doing a pumze from the backside. And I don't know what you're doing because I can't even see you. You're not lit well, on and on and on, right? So I want to be mindful that that could be a huge, huge miss. A huge miss. A huge miss when you simply produce these demo videos. So when you talk about that as far as retention, Conrad, comprehensive curriculum with videos to support that learning, that could be a huge hit or a huge miss. A huge miss. And as we are more kid centric, I'm even mindful in the tone of voice and the language that I use, right? We're very mindful. So there's a huge difference when a parent's watching a curriculum video and you say front kick him to the groin, right? Versus front kick right below the belt. See, even something as basic as that can impact retention, right? That parent's all of a sudden not happy because you just told their kid on video to kick somebody in the groin. Okay. Here's another example, soccer. They call it a slide tackle, where the kid slides in feet first to the ball. Well, it's actually a very vicious move because if a kid's running full speed and somebody slides in to, intercept the ball, they could very easily take you out at the shins. Easily take you out at the shins. I watch kids get hurt. So again, it's also, if we talk about retention, the language. So this comprehensive curriculum with great learning videos, absolute. But you know what backs that up? The highly trained team, right? The team that's taught. And I'm doing a whole thing on this right now with my new summer day camp staff. There's a big difference between telling a group of kids, sit down right now, or who could I compliment sitting down first? See if you can get me before I count it down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Awesome, little Mary. You're the first one sitting. You just earned a teamwork badge for being a great great teammate to me. You see, it's often how you say it. And I don't care how great the curriculum is. If you teach it poorly, then that's going to hurt your retention, right? I don't care how good the food is in a restaurant. If your wait staff is rude, they don't know the specials, they can't go over the menu with somebody and help educate them, right? Or as Virginia's saying, empower them to make a good choice on what to eat tonight, right? We're going to miss the boat. So, and we all say that, right? Teach amazing classes. So I think we've covered all of that. Number one, great curriculum, comprehensive. Back that up with good instructional videos. Back that up with a highly trained team. And so what does that mean for us? Well, depending upon your culture, and this is important because I watch people really miss. Some people just were like really, relish the 2-3 hour meeting on a Monday. The first part is stats and performance for each location, and then we train together as a team. I disagree. I think training is constant in the moment all the time. All the time. That in between classes where I have that aha moment with a 17-year-old instructor and I can simply make an adjustment and so he teaches the next class even better is a good thing all day, every day. And culturally for us, that's how we roll. I did it yesterday. I asked the instructor, which group would you like to take? I always want them to meet them where they're at. And that's a big part of our cultural philosophy. I never walk into my locations and strap on my black belt and walk around like I'm, all knowing, walking on water. I ask, that's not one. Because we're one martial arts, right? We're one people. We're equal. That's a big part of what we do. So being able to walk in and say to the team, um, you know, where would you like me to be? They always give me the brand new beginners, right? But that's okay. It's okay. That's leadership by example, I believe. And it's also showing the, autonomy that I give my team to make good choices, to take right action. And one of that, like, Michael was saying, keep your promises. So I'm not going to go back and undermine my sister for giving them a free uniform. No, no, no way. Never, never, never. We will give that kid a new uniform tonight. And I'm totally good with it. Cool. I can't stand when instructors teach their ego. I love that, sir. Wow. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But I pretty much, as much as I'm a mentor and I have all this wisdom, I don't like being the smartest person in the room. You know, that's why I shared this the other day in with some of my, I don't know, for the lack of a better word, you know, my mastermind group that I work with at Kin Creative, is that I like to do things that I'm not used to, right? If it's within my wheelhouse of martial arts and mentoring and consulting, for the lack of a better word, and all that, I'm at home, as you can see me right now. But what happened was we got these medals and they needed to be sewn. There wasn't enough time for them to fix the order. So I could have taken them to the dry cleaners and got them sewn. But you know what I did? I bought a sewing machine and I stitched every one of those 180 medals myself. Myself. And I was so tickled pink when I was done, Michael, because I really felt like, I did something out of my comfort zone and I learned how to do something new. Now, I'm always refining my skill set as a mentor. I'm always refining my skill set as an entrepreneur and a small business owner. I'm always refining that skill set. That's never ending. But to do something mundane, the other day I hung new LED lights in the garage over the washing machine. And I was just tickled pink because it's not something I normally do. So if you want to get unstuck in your learning process, which is vital to retention, when you come to me and tell me, I teach the way my teacher taught and the way his teacher taught him, and we're true to tradition. Okay, maybe that's why you have 10 students, right? And you can't grow your school. You got to meet people where they're at. As Michael J. Fox said, if kids don't learn the way you teach, teach the way they learn. I love it. I love it, right? And I think that's the art of being a great instructor. You're trying to inspire and empower people, right, Virginia? Well, then one size doesn't fit all. It simply doesn't. And that ability to teach not a class of 30, but to teach 30 individuals and still be able to communicate the curriculum well and still impact these kids and empower them in self-defense or fitness or whatever you're trying to do. That's an art. That's an art, right? That's an art. And I think that's what makes retention, as far as teaching goes, super powerful. Super powerful. So I don't like being the smartest guy in the room. I don't. I know. But the yin to the yang of that, just off subject for a minute, level 5 leadership. Just because you're not the smarter person in the room doesn't mean you don't have value, doesn't mean you're not equal to everybody in that room. And I think that's the mistake we make. This guy makes more money than me. Doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean he's smarter. He might have been luckier, right? Might have inherited that money and simply had someone write his ticket. You don't know his story, so don't compare yourself to his story just because he has more zeros at the end of his bank account, right? The only way you're going to exist in those rooms where you believe potentially you're not the smartest person is walking into that room with the self-confidence, not ego, the earned self-confidence that I belong in this room. That's why I wrote that saying, you deserve a seat at a seat at the table. And if they won't give you a seat, build your own damn table, right? Again, that's empowerment, right? That's inspiration 101. So teach amazing classes, constantly review the curriculum, have learning videos, have a high caliber trained staff. Now, for us, and this is for us, I have two guys, TJ and Lucas. They've been with me 15 years now. They are in their early 30s. I can sell that. I can sell that all day, every day. I was talking to another schooler, and his team is, late teens, early 20s, and there's some personal challenges and stuff that are going on. You can't sell that. You'll always have a huge retention issue, right? Because it's just not believable. The minute I stopped teaching, my adult martial arts dropped. Because at the time, these guys were in their early 20s. It didn't add up. But that's okay, because I knew we wanted to move to be more kid-centric. So that's another conversation. But the fact that I have TJ and Lucas at each location, and then that's it. There's another thing with retention. We don't keep our top-tiered guys at one location. Our top-tier guys do this at both locations, right? That, I think, has been very powerful to our retention. Same thing here. You might have that C player that comes in every Wednesday, right, and teaches one class. They have a day job. They're a great third-degree black belt. They come teach the sparring class. Don't do that. Get him to move around. Because if he's that talented, that 1 hour he offers you a week could benefit a beginning class. Next week, let him come do a year one class. Next week, let him do a year two class. I say that, and people would say, well, they get used to a certain teacher. That's not good. That is not good. Your system should be so strong. Your staff training should be so strong that everybody is able to inspire and impact people. You with me? So that works really well for us. So I'd have to say a big part of our retention is my two top tier guys who've been with me forever, right? These guys do it full time, 401k, medical siphon, vacation with pay. They both own homes. They both own nice cars. They both have babies, and they're moving on. And as long as I keep pace with that, they'll have no reason to ever leave me, right? As long as I create the opportunity for them to fulfill their goals outside of our business, huge. Because I think that's a really big issue for our industry, right? Is the instruction is very inconsistent, and that impacts your retention phenomenally. You with me? It impacts your retention phenomenally. And no matter how you squint your eyes and look at it, I'm sorry, I don't care how dynamic or amazing they freaking are, they're still 17 freaking years old. That's it. All day, every day. No matter how you want to slice or dice it, they're still 17. And you can't tell me, just on a human level, a parent, a 35-year-old parent sitting there is going to feel as inspired and as empowered as if somebody who's 30, who's been teaching for 10 years, right? Actively, who steps up there with a sense of confidence that's earned, right? That has made this his life and career. Totally different. Totally different. And I think that's why our retention in our industry is so low. I mean, God, replacing 50% of our student body every 2 years, even me with these dynamite instructors, folks, we still are fighting that retention number all the time, right? Kids get bored. Kids want to do something else. Right? It just happens. Sometimes it's of no fault of anybody's. So, next retention tip. I think we've covered the obvious, right? We've covered the obvious. Now, here's one I live and die by: gratitude, right? That's one of our core values in our school: gratitude. So, in the old days, if you came late to class, um, my dad's school, you had to sit in the corner in a horse stance and wait until you were acknowledged. Now, when you were acknowledged, that was probably followed with a little bit of browbeating. You're late for class. So everybody in the room knew you were late. So now you're embarrassed. Followed by, I want you to do 10 push ups before you enter class. Oh, so let me get this straight. I'm late. I lost 5 more minutes of my class because I'm sitting in the corner in a horse stance, and you browbeat me, and I do 10 push-ups in front of everybody before I join the class. So I've lost, 20 minutes of this class. I just paid you how much for? And ours is almost what? I think $30 a class now. If I break it down to 69, 279 twice a week. So, and the first thing I had said to an instructor, it's not the kid's fault, it's the parent's fault. So if it's a chronic issue, that's something you need to address with the parent. Kid showed up yesterday with no belt. And the first thing I said to him, it's okay, sir. That belt's not going to do martial arts for you. You are. And then I just lightened the situation. I said, I'll tell you what, you want to wear my belt? I mean, that's retention 101. And the kid doesn't drive. So you see how we flipped the script on that? But I grew up in old school martial arts, and that's not the way it went. I saw a guy posted proudly that if you forget your belt, he keeps a wet belt, a pink belt. It's how misogynistic crap this is. The belt is wet and it's frozen in the freezer. So you're taking this frozen belt that's pink and you're putting it on and have to do class in it to embarrass you even further that you forgot your belt. See, that type of archaic behavior for us does not work. Does that mean I can't punch you any less or hard in the face if necessary? Of course not. And I think that's the thing they tend to think goes hand in hand. Good customer service means you're soft and weak. Meeting students where they're at means you're soft and weak. Keeping your promises and Making healthy compromises for the benefit of the student means you're weak. Because in that rigid thinking, they believe, the pink belt and the push-ups and all those things are why they are who they are. Okay. If you believe that's what floats your boat, so be it. Right? Okay, what is Conrad adding here? Yeah, Tung Sudo, you bow to everybody when they enter and leave. Yeah, waiting for that. Yep. Yeah, because I think what we're talking about, Conrad, is the habit. We bow as an acknowledgement of respect. If I have to stand there and wait 10 minutes for this instructor to acknowledge me, to bow to him, and I've wasted all that time, that's not a good day. That's not a good day. Believe me, anytime I go to a tournament, I can't get from one end of the gym to the other because everything is bow, 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 bow. And the term bowing in some religious cultures, I had somebody say, I don't bow to anybody but God. I'm not bowing to you. He's got a point. He's got a freaking point, right? So, yeah, we even changed it. We don't say bow, and we're a Kenpo system where we always said bow. Now we say respect. It's a sign of respect in the martial arts for each other. And that's how we changed the wording on that to be contemporary, but still keep the core value of offering respect, right? And I'll say that. In America, people shake hands. In Japan, they might bow. But here in our school, we show the same greeting of respect and we say respect. See? So again, there's a contemporary take, but still remaining true to a core value, which I do believe supports retention. It does. It does support retention. So going back to the gratitude thing before, I got a couple comments and posts. I am grateful if I see that you've opted into our website. I'm grateful if you opt in and never sign up. I'm grateful if you opt in and sign up for a trial and do not show. I'm grateful if you opt in, sign up for a trial and you do show. I'm grateful if you show up for that trial and choose not to sign up. I'm grateful if you take the trial and choose to sign up. I'm grateful if you're there for a month. I'm grateful if you're there for a year. I'm grateful if you leave. I'm grateful if you stay because gratitude is a mindset. It is not influenced or governed by outside sources. So I think one of the biggest mistakes we make in retention is when somebody wants to quit, we go into panic mode, right? What does the industry teach us? Refocus, re-energize, remotivate. Get them in for a meeting with the parent. Sit them down, talk about all the great experiences, the advancement, look at the belt you are now, all those things to help create clarity of why they should stay. Now, if none of that works, guilt the parent. Do you believe it's good parenting if you allow your child to quit? Oh, if that doesn't work, I'm knocking over my microphone here. If that doesn't work, I'm going to hold you to the contract. None of that. None of that leans into the core value of gratitude. So for us, and stay with me now, if you're going to quit, you haven't quit that day you're telling me. You quit months ago. So writing systems of retention, making sure every class is a wonderful experience, making sure as they're working their way through the ranks that it is a learning and comprehensive experience of growth and empowerment and inspiration, right, Virginia? If I make that the main priority, then guess what? If you leave, then you need to leave for whatever reason. Soccer, basketball, you're bored, you're done, it's not a good fit. Not everybody's meant to do martial arts like us for their whole lives, right? They're not, right? You'll talk to a cook who's cooked their whole life that would tell you everybody needs to be a cook. Not me. I like to cook, when time allows. I love to cook, but it's got to be under good conditions. See? So I think that's ego again, going back to what Michael said, it's an ego thing. Your ego cannot handle that they're quitting. When someone tells to me, I've invested all this time into them. Whoa, time's up. Pencils down. You were paid. You were paid. Your ego is but hurt. That is the challenge here. So, and I'm driving this one home because I think it's one of the reasons our retention is so awful. When you quit our school, the first thing we do is send you a thank you postcard. And you also follow up with a thank you email that says thank you for allowing us to serve you. during the time you've spent at one martial arts. Please know the door is always wide open if you want to continue your martial arts journey. Live your best life. Wow. Right? Wow. Wow. You just broke up with me and you're happy for me and want me to have an amazing life. Right? Think about that for a moment. And I cannot tell you, here's an example. Here's an example. The girl is now got to be in her 30s. She trained with us. The mom did kickboxing with us, right? They were gone for I don't know how many years. Now, this 30-year-old that was with us at 8, her son is in his second or third year with us. Wow. Who would sit there and leave you as a teenager, go to college, do all those different things, get married, have a baby, have the baby grow up to a certain age, bring him into your martial arts school? That's got to be a 15-year gap. And this kid is with us now, right? I saw him at the tournament on Sunday. And you want to talk about retention? He kind of stumbled and fumbled a little bit. So I personally took him in the back warm-up area, went through his kata with him afterwards. And I shared with him, what you did out there, that is no reflection of your greatness, sir. It is not. See this kata you did right now? This is your potential. That's retention, right? Even though he didn't win the medal, I personally spent time with him and helped him rediscover the greatness that's in him. And his mom and grandma were tickled pink. I gave them both a hug, said hi, because I'm not at the San Francisco location. But see, that's why. And if you go to a mall and you see a student and family and they go in the other direction, you have done wrong. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Right? I want that door wide open because you never know. Could be a sibling, could be, God, their kid 15 years later, but you always want to keep that door wide open. You with me? I think that's a big retention tool. Huge retention. Huge retention. Huge retention. Yeah, I agree with you, Michael. You can post that up. I agree. I really don't like the word master either. I think it fills your ego. And nowadays, I think the you know, old fashioned work, in my personal opinion. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when I grew up in the 60s doing martial arts, I started in 1967. There was sensei, right? And the Japanese for teacher, and sifu, which is Chinese for teacher. Then somewhere in the 80s, and I think the Koreans, I didn't know Taekwondo at the time, but I think it's always been master, right? In Taekwondo. I don't know for sure, and anyone can correct me if I'm wrong. Somewhere in the 80s, all of a sudden, there was a master. And then I saw it in the Last Dragon, right? Show enough, I'm the Grandmaster, Mega Master, Master Grandmaster, right? I said, oh my God, there's a Grandmaster now. And I know in some, and God bless their soul, it's their choice. When you die, you become an eternal Grandmaster, right? Whatever works for your culture. I don't want to be critical of that. But you're right. I think master, with all due, no, not all due respect, it is disrespectful. Yeah. God, I called someone out the other day, and here I am being a hypocrite. I said the other day, when you say to me, with all due respect, no, you're about to be extremely disrespectful. So just take out the first part of it and go for it. So yeah, it's extremely disrespectful. Master is associated to slavery. And I think it's derogatory. There you go. I said it, right? I said it. I don't like it. But do I correct the Koreans when someone calls me Master Beliso? Nope. No, I do not. That's your gig. I'm in your neighborhood. You want to call me Master Beliso? I'm good. That's your thing, right? Your thing. Yeah, we're actually having that discussion, Michael. We think because we are an environment of education that maybe teacher. I'm a professor because I'm a ninth degree. I've been a professor since sixth degree or something. And I think it works for an academic environment, so people still call me professor. And I've done Kenpo and martial arts for well over 50 years. In any college institution, yeah, I would probably be beyond a professor, right? Whatever that is at this point. Oh, word, not work. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yep. And so teacher is one we lean into in our younger classes. That's all we say. Who could I compliment looking at teacher, right? Professor, they don't even know what the heck that is, or sifu or sensei or any of that. So we're actually thinking culturally shifting into the word teacher. I've been messing with it for a while, but some of my higher ups with Sifu and all that, they're going, dude, I'm going to be a professor soon. You're going to take that away from me and make me just be called teacher? I don't know. So we're wrestling with that. So I get that. So again, um, I want to make their entrance into our culture just as beautiful as their exit. That's really important to us. It really is. And that, you know, being a person of your word, why would I give you all this love and you choose to leave us? All of a sudden, I'm going to hate on you. That's not us. That's not what we do. And ironically, the good news is people end up coming back years later. Yeah, I have a girl right now who couldn't deal with it during the pandemic and still was slow to come back. And she's back now and has been with us for well over a year consistently. And she'll make it to black belt. See, relationships have to supersede people before profits. That's a big part of retention. People before profits. You know, man, this went by too fast, Marco. It's 11:52. I love being with you guys. And great stuff today. You guys are giving me good stuff. Thank you, Conrad and Michael, Virginia, James. This is just good stuff, you guys. I have a huge challenge. Yeah. 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 Yeah, I agree with you, Virginia. And I know there's a huge debate about that. Huge debate. And my pop always says, that belt just holds up your pants when the day's done. And I think great teachers are always going to be the most humble. The best leaders will always be the most humble. Because I think it takes a lot of confidence to be humble. If I'm a, jackass and critical and point fingers and name call, I'm a pretty narcissistic, insecure dude. That's just me. That's me. That's how my personal belief system is. I think, refraining and recognizing with humility, if I point one finger at you, I have three pointed back at me. Ownership, right? Ownership. Um, Conrad made that comment, retention is about a clean school. I saw that there somewhere, right? I just want, yeah, clean school. Support and a clean school. Yeah, I'm going to tell you what happened the other day, Conrad. I had someone come in for an intro, and I was teaching the class last Saturday because one of my guys was in Hawaii. And at 63, I can't tell you how much I love teaching because I know I won't be able to teach at this level 15 years from now, right? Physically, the body's just going to get older. So I really, teaching for me right now is just so amazing. I only teach 1 day a week, but I'm always looking, can I sub? Can I sub? Right? I want to get in there and teach more. And I don't have to financially, but I like it. I love it. I love it. I was born on the mat. My father's karate school, we lived above the karate school. I was born there. And that's the other thing that I think hurts our industry a lot is when they tell you success is working on your business, not in it. I think it's silly. I discovered confidence on the mat. I discovered myself on the mat, everything. Why would I stop wanting to do that? Ever. Now, I took a break of teaching 5 days a week because I was raising babies. And now my kids are 16 and 13. So it gives me a little more time to teach. So that was the trade off. Great trade off. Can't look at my daughter who's 13 and say, please be 7 again. Papa, it's time to spend with you. Okay. Did I hit that one enough? Done day. All right. So, going back to the clean school, we get a review. And this guy says, this school was impeccable. It was clean. The instruction was amazing. I brought my 4-year-old for a trial class. Now, it doesn't fit our schedule, but I do see us joining somewhere in the future. I was just like, dude, you're not even a student yet? You haven't even enrolled your kid? But we left such a good first impression. You took time out of your day to write us a 5-star review. It was at Google or Yelp. I was like, whoa. I honestly have never had that one happen. Never. The guy wrote us a review after the trial, and he's put it very clearly. Go read it. I'm not signing up right now. I'm not. What? But he wrote us a review. And part of that I shared with our janitorial service is because this school is clean, because to me, everybody's of great value. And that culturally, I think, is a big part of how we retain our team, right? I'm very proud of the retention, the longevity of our team members, as well as our students. I have a student and I've been offering because my kids do this. My son did this last Saturday. Papa, me and my friend's going to sleep at the karate school. Okay. He started that at 8th grade graduation. I think it's very cool. How many kids can say, hey, man, we got a karate school to play dodgeball and PS5 and hang out and sleep in tonight? Not a lot. So I offered it up to a couple of our families whose boys are now in middle school and all that. The moms are going to spend the night there and all that good stuff and supervise the boys. But again, culturally, I'm not charging them a cent. I offered it up because I've been bragging that my son does it, right? My daughter did it for her 13th birthday. And my wife did this whole to do, but that's a different conversation. See, that's retention right there. That's retention right there, right there. On all levels, that's retention. Last week at the tournament, all I did was go way out of my way to greet every student and family member from San Francisco because I'm not there. The running joke is I'm the guy in the videos, right? In the instructional videos. But those types of things that equate to good retention are phenomenal. We had one of our black folks from San Francisco. I don't know him well. He came and he helped judge the tournament and he competed. His dad literally read me the riot act, and I mean in a good way. Sifu Bender had an impact, and Ms. Delacruz, and Sifu Delacruz, and Lucas Delacruz, and my son, and he's only going to be a junior. So I've got him for 2 more years of teaching, and if we do it really well, we'll get him to go to college locally, and he'll teach all the way through college for us. And who knows? Would I open a location for him? Absolutely, if he decided to make it his life. Sure. But see, retention is an ongoing thing, but it's based upon the good things you guys said: inspiration, empowerment, be a person of your word, comprehensive learning, right? A clean school, be consistent and concise in your communication. All that has nothing to do with a sales script, people. Has nothing to do with having this strategic system in place. If they want to quit, you sit them in the office and tell them worst case scenario. Tell them what a terrible parent you are. Worst case scenario, threaten to keep them under that contract, right? It's nothing about that. And that's why I think as much as we want to learn about retention, right, we don't want to follow through on it because there's no instant gratification with it until you see that student who's there at month 3, all of a sudden they're in year 3, right? It's not instant. It's not instant. And we need to be extremely mindful of that. You cultivate these retention systems or practices or brand absolutes, such as saying hello at the front door. That's a brand absolute for us. It's not negotiable. We believe if you feel welcomed in our school, we will retain you longer. So if you get a hello the minute you walk through the door and a goodbye when you walk out, we believe that helps with retention. Well, where's your ROI? Show me the KPI for that. Okay. How do you measure if saying hello is going to retain a student? How do you measure that? How do you measure that? So you see where I'm going with this? What I'm going to ask you to do, though, is consciously go through all your systems, your processes, your website, everything, and ask yourself, is the language all promote retention? Because I'm not looking for a lead. I'm not looking for a trial. I'm not looking for a student. What I need for my life are long-term relationships. And I'm willing to forego all of the, smoke and mirrors and the rest of it to truly invest in creating a relationship. Now, that guy didn't sign up his kid, did he? But he wrote us a review. What do you think the odds are when that guy's schedule lightens up that he's going to bring his son to us? What do you think? I think it's really, really high. And that's because of all of the components from the time he opted in to the text we sent him, right? To come to the trial, to when he came to the trial, saw his kid's name on an acrylic sign. The kid got a t-shirt. He came into the class. I must have said the kid's name 10 times during class. At the end of class, he got a best job badge and got to break a board in front of everybody through the whole class because it's a parenting class. Oh, dad's the hero too, highlighting and spotlighting the dad, right? All of that. To when he left the school without the hard sell. He was inspired to go home and write that review. Go see it. It's there. And I'm super proud of that. That's an example of all our retention systems working without worrying about this result. And lo and behold, little miracles like that review comes. Cool? All right, man. I could do this one all day. And I'm sorry we went a minute over, but I thank everybody, everybody. It was such a great show today. And please share it with as many people as you can. I think what I do as a mentor, not a consultant in our industry, is something extremely different. I think it's in line for me with most martial arts heart. And I believe you can live from the heart in the martial arts and be extremely profitable. We are a prime example of that. We are a prime example of that. So let's thank our sponsors, Marco. We have Tucson, Market Muscles, My Studio, Kids of Life Skills, LC Accounting, and Kin Creative. All people I love, all people I work with, all people that impact my business. It's Time Life Freedom, November 8th through 11th, right here, Millbrae, California, 5 minutes from SFO. Stay for 1 day, 2 days, but it's really the 4-day experience that we spend together, 20 school owners for 4 days, breaking bread, crying, growing, working on every aspect of your business is why this is in its 9th year, and this one appropriately is called It's Time Life Freedom. With yours truly and my special guest, look for the link for that. Our mentoring program, like I said, I'm very proud because it's affordable and it takes all the best components of wisdom, my one-on-one executive mentoring program, and gives it to school owners in an affordable way, but with not any less value or impact. That's the cool thing about that. Cool? All right. Thank you, Marco, for holding down the fort. Thank you, everybody, today. Your contributions have been phenomenal. And I greatly, greatly appreciate everybody for being here today and adding value to this episode. Cool. I am Brannon Beliso. Oh, how do you find me? Thank you, Marco. How do you find me? Subscribe to my YouTube channel, please. Lots of great learning. Subscribe to my podcast, Success Never Sleeps, and Mindful Meditation on all the major platforms. Follow me at Instagram. For everything else, go to brannonbeliso.com. Try it again. I am Brannon Beliso. This is Success Never Sleeps. Until we talk again, what are you going to go out there and do? Live your best life.